Odyssey, Book 18, The Fight with Iris, the warning to Amphinomus, Penelope shines before the suitors. And there came a public beggar who used to beg through the town of Ithaca, notorious for his ravening belly, eating and drinking without end. No strength was in him, and no force, but in bulk he was very big to look at. Arneus was his name, his honored mother gave it him at birth, but Iris all the young men called him, because he would run messages whenever anyone bade him. He came now to drive Odysseus from his own house, and abusing him he spoke winged words. "Off the porch, old man, or be dragged off quick by the foot. Don't you see how they're all winking at me, telling me to drag you? I am ashamed to, even so. Up then, before our quarrel comes to fists." Then glaring from under his brows, Odysseus of the many designs replied, "Man possessed, I do you no harm, I say you none. I grudge no one giving to you. However much he takes up, this threshold will hold the two of us. You have no need to grudge what is other men's. You seem to me a wanderer just as I am, and prosperity is the gods to give. Only do not challenge me too far with your fists, or you will anger me, and old as I am I will spatter your chest and lips with blood. And I would have the more peace for it tomorrow, for I do not think you would come back a second time to the hall of Laertes' son Odysseus." Then Iris the vagrant answered him in anger, "Listen to the glutton, how he rattles on, like an old woman at her oven. I'll plan him a nasty turn, hit him with both hands and knock every tooth from his jaws to the ground, like a crop raiding sows. Belt up now, so all these men may know us as we fight. But how would you fight a younger man?" So before the high doors on the polished threshold, the two of them bristled at each other with whole hearts, and the sacred strength of Antinous took note of them. And breaking into easy laughter he called to the suitors, "Friends, nothing like this has ever happened yet. What sport the god has brought into this house. The stranger and Iris are wrangling with each other to fight it out with fists. Quick, let us match them." So he spoke, and they all sprang up laughing and crowded round the ill-dressed beggars. And Antinous spoke among them, "Eupeithes' son, hear me, lordly suitors, while I say a word. There are goats' paunches lying at the fire, which we set by for supper, filled with fat and blood. Whichever of the two wins and proves the better man, let him stand up and take his pick of them, and ever after he shall feast with us, and no other beggar will we let inside to beg among us." So spoke Antinous, and his word pleased them well. Then Odysseus of the many designs, with craft in mind, spoke among them, "Friends, there is no way an old man can fight a younger one, a man worn down by misery, but the belly, that worker of evil, eggs me on, to go down under his blows. Come then, all of you swear me a strong oath, that no one doing Iris a favor will strike me a foul blow with a heavy hand, and force me under for him." So he spoke, and they all swore the oath as he demanded. And when they had sworn and sealed the oath entire, the sacred strength of Telemachus spoke among them, "Stranger, if your heart and your proud spirit move you to beat this man off, fear none of the other Achaeans. Whoever strikes you will have more than one to fight. Your host is myself, and the king second it, Antinous and Eurymachus, sound-thinking men both." So he spoke, and they all approved. And Odysseus girded his rags about his loins, and bared his thighs, beautiful, massive, and his broad shoulders came to light, his chest, his heavy arms. And Athena came close, and filled out the limbs of the shepherd of the people. And the suitors every one were amazed beyond all measure, and a man would say with a glance at his neighbor, "Iris on Iris soon, a self-invited beating. Look what a thigh the old man shows from under those rags." So they spoke, and Iris' heart was stirred, for the worse. Even so the serving men girded him, and led him out by force, in terror, the flesh trembling on his limbs. And Antinous rebuked him, and spoke a word and named him, "Better you were not alive, you ox of a braggart, nor ever born if you shiver and fear so terribly before this man, an old man worn out with the misery that has found him. But I will tell you this, and it will be accomplished. If this man beats you and proves the better man, I will throw you in a black ship and send you to the mainland, to King Echetus, the maimer of all mankind, who will slice away your nose and ears with the pitiless bronze, and tear off your parts and give them raw to the dogs to share." So he spoke, and a still greater trembling seized Iris' limbs. But they led him into the middle, and both men put up their hands. Then much enduring noble Odysseus debated whether to hit him, so the life would leave him where he fell, or to hit him gently, and just stretch him on the ground. And as he weighed it, this seemed to him the better way, to strike gently, so the Achaeans would not take note of him. Then both put up their guard. Iris drove at the right shoulder, but he struck the neck under the ear, and crushed the bones inward. At once the red blood came up in his mouth, and he went down bleeding in the dust, teeth clenched together, heels drumming the ground. And the lordly suitors threw up their hands and died laughing. Then Odysseus took him by the foot, and dragged him out through the porch, to the courtyard and the colonnade gates, and there he propped him against the courtyard fence, sitting up, and pushed his stick into his hand, and lifting his voice he spoke winged words to him. Sit there now, and keep off the pigs and dogs, and stop lording it over strangers and beggars, wretch that you are, or a worse evil yet may find you. He spoke and slung about his shoulders his beggar's pouch, full of holes, hanging by a twisted cord, and went back to the threshold and sat down. And they went inside laughing sweetly, and saluted him with words, May Zeus give you, stranger, and the other deathless gods, whatever you most desire, whatever is dear to your heart, you who stop that insatiable one from begging through the land. For soon we will haul him to the mainland, to King Echetus, the maimer of all mankind. So they spoke, and noble Odysseus rejoiced at the omen of the words. And Antinous set beside him the great paunch, filled with fat and blood, and Amphinomus took up 2 loaves from the basket and set them by him, and pledged him with a golden cup, and said, Your health, father stranger. May happiness be yours in time to come, though now you are held fast in many evils. Then Odysseus of the many designs answered him, Amphinomus, you seem to me a man of good sense, and such was the father you come from. I have heard his good name, Nisus of Dulichium, a brave man and a rich one. They say you are his son, and you seem a civil man, so I will tell you something. Mark it, hear me out. The earth breeds nothing feebler than a man, of all things that breathe and move on the face of it. He tells himself he will never suffer evil in time to come, as long as the gods lent him prowess and his knees are quick. But when the blessed gods bring hard days too to pass, these too he bears, unwilling on an enduring heart. For such is the mind of men who live on earth. It is whatever day the Father of gods and men brings on. I too was once set fair to be fortunate among men, and I did many reckless things, giving way to my force and power, trusting in my father and my brothers. So let no man ever be lawless in anything, but keep in silence whatever gifts the gods may give. Such recklessness I see the suitors devising here, shearing away the goods, dishonoring the wife of a man who, I tell you, will not long be far from his friends and his father's land. He is very close. But you, may your own fate steal you home instead. May you not meet him the day he comes back to his own dear country. For not without blood, I think, will they be parted, the suitors and that man, once he comes in under his roof. So he spoke and poured and drank the honey-sweet wine, then gave the cup back into the hands of the marshal of the people. And that man went off down the hall with an aching heart, head sinking down, for his spirit foresaw the evil. But even so he did not escape his fate. Athena bound him too, to be broken under the hands and spear of Telemachus. Back he went and sat down on the chair from which he had risen. And now the goddess, gray-eyed Athena, put it in the mind of Icarius's daughter, watchful-minded Penelope, to show herself to the suitors, so she might open their hearts wide as sails, and come to stand more precious in her husband's eyes and her son's than she had been before. She laughed, an empty laugh, and spoke a word, and named her. Eurynomé, my heart longs, as it never has before, to show myself to the suitors, hateful as they are, and I would say a word to my son, the better for him, not to keep such company with the overweening suitors, who speak him fair and mean him evil behind. And Eurynomé the housekeeper answered her, Yes, child, all this you have said as it should be. Go then, and speak your word to your son, hide nothing. But first wash your skin and put a shine on your cheeks. Do not go with your face all stained like this with tears. Grief without respite makes everything worse. And your son is now the age you prayed the deathless one so long to let you see, a bearded man. Then watchful-minded Penelope answered her, Eurynomé, do not coax me so, out of love I know, to wash my skin and put a gloss upon it. Whatever bloom I had, the gods who hold Olympus destroyed it the day that man went off in the hollow ships. But tell Autonoe and Hippodamia to come and stand beside me in the hall. Alone I will not go among men, I would be ashamed. So she spoke, and the old woman went off through the hall to carry word to the women and hurry them along. Then the goddess, gray-eyed Athena, thought of one thing more. Over Icarius's daughter she poured sweet sleep, and she slept, leaning back, and all her joints went loose right there on the couch. And meanwhile the shining goddess was giving her immortal gifts to make the Achaeans stare. She cleansed her lovely face with the ambrosial balm that crowned Cytherea anoints herself with when she goes to the Graces' lovely dance, and she made her taller and fuller to the eye, and made her whiter than sawn ivory. That done, the shining goddess went away, and the white-armed handmaids came in from the hall, talking as they came, and the sweet sleep let her go. She rubbed her cheeks with her hands and said, "Soft, the softest of trances wrap me round for all my anguish. If only pure Artemis would give me a death as soft this very instant, so that I need no longer mourn at heart, wasting my life away longing for my dear husband and his every excellence, for he stood out among the Achaeans." So speaking, she came down from her shining upper room, not alone, 2 handmaids followed with her. And when she reached the suitors, shining among women, she stood beside the pillar of the close-built roof, holding her glistening veil before her cheeks, a trusted handmaid standing on either side. And their knees went slack on the spot, their hearts spellbound with desire, and every man prayed to lie in bed beside her. But she spoke to Telemachus, her dear son. "Telemachus, your mind is no longer steady, nor your thought. While you were still a boy, you turned shrewder plans than this, but now that you are grown, come to the measure of manhood, so that a stranger looking at your height and beauty would say you must be some rich man's son. Your mind and thought are no longer as they should be. What a thing has been done here in the halls. You let the stranger be manhandled so. What now if a stranger sitting in our house should come to harm from such ugly hauling about? On you the shame and the disgrace would fall, among all men." Then clear-headed Telemachus answered her, "Mother mine, I cannot resent your anger at this. But I do take note in my heart. I do know each thing, the good and the worse alike. Before I was still a child. Yet I cannot manage to think out everything wisely. These men unhinge me, crowding me this side and that, plotting their mischief, and I have no helpers." Still the bout of the stranger and Iris did not go as the suitors intended. The stranger was the stronger. If only, Father Zeus, Athena, Apollo, the suitors in our house would nod their heads like that, beaten and broken, some in the courtyard, some inside the house, and the limbs of each gone slack, the way that Iris over there at the courtyard gates sits lolling his head like a man dead drunk, and cannot stand upright on his feet, or go home, wherever home is, since his own limbs are slack. So they spoke to one another of such things, and Eurymachus addressed Penelope with words, "Daughter of Icarius, watchful-minded Penelope, if all the Achaeans through Iasian Argos could see you, more suitors yet would be feasting in your house from tomorrow morning, for you surpass all women in form and stature, and in the balanced mind within." Then watchful-minded Penelope answered him, "Eurymachus, my excellence, my face, my figure, the deathless ones destroyed the day the Argives boarded ship for Ilium, and my husband Odysseus with them. If he came back, if he watched over this life of mine, my fame would be greater so and lovelier. Now I only grieve, so many evils the god has driven at me. Truly, when he went, leaving his father's land, he took me by the right hand at the wrist and said, 'Wife, I do not think the strong-grieved Achaeans will all come home from Troy unharmed and whole. The Trojans, too, they say, are men of war, spear-throwers, drawers of the bow, mounters of swift-footed horses, such as decide soonest the great strife of leveling war. So I cannot know whether the god will bring me back, or I go down there in Troy. Let everything here be your care. Remember my father and my mother in these halls as now, or even more, while I am far away. But when you see our son a bearded man, marry whom you will, and leave your house behind.' So he spoke at that man, and now it is all being accomplished. The night will come when the marriage I loathe will meet me, my cursed self, whose happiness Zeus has torn away. But this bitter shame comes over my heart and spirit. This is not what suitors' custom used to be. Men who would woo a good woman, a rich man's daughter, and contend with one another for her. They drive up cattle of their own and fat sheep, a feast for the bride's people, and they give her shining gifts. They do not devour another man's living, scot-free." So she spoke, and much enduring noble Odysseus was glad that she drew gifts out of them, charming their hearts with honeyed words, while her mind was bent on other things. Then Antinous answered her, Eupeithes' son, daughter of Icarius, watchful-minded Penelope, the gifts, whatever any Achaean wishes to bring here, accept them. It is not good manners to refuse a gift, but we are not going to our lands, nor anywhere else, until you marry whichever of the Achaeans is best. So spoke Antinous, and his word pleased them well, and each man sent a herald off to bring his gifts. For Antinous he brought a great embroidered robe, beautiful, and in it were brooches, 12 in all, of gold, fitted with well-bent clasps. For Eurymachus one brought a necklace, richly worked in gold, strung with pieces of amber, bright as the sun. For Eurydamas 2 henchmen brought a pair of earrings, triple dropped like mulberries, and much grace glinted from them. And out of the house of Lord Pisander, Polyctor's son, a henchman brought a neckband, a jewel of great beauty. And so one Achaean after another brought his lovely gift. Then she went up to her upper room, shining among women, and her handmaids carried the beautiful gifts beside her. But the men turned to the dance and to lovely song, and took their pleasure there, and waited for evening to come. And as they took their pleasure, the black evening came upon them. At once they set up 3 braziers in the halls, to give them light, and heaped dry kindling round, long seasoned, bone dry, new split with the bronze, and mixed in pine brands. And turn by turn the slave women of enduring-hearted Odysseus kept the flame alive, and to them he himself spoke, Zeus-born Odysseus of the many designs, slave women of Odysseus, of your master so long gone, go through to the rooms where the honored queen is, turn the spindle at her side and cheer her heart, sitting there in her chamber, or card the wool with your hands. I will keep up the light for all these men myself. Even if they choose to wait for fair-throned dawn, they will not outlast me. I am a very patient man. So he spoke, and they burst out laughing, glancing at one another, and fair-cheeked Melantho jeered at him shamefully. Dolius fathered her, but Penelope brought her up and cherished her like her own child, and gave her toys to her heart's desire. Yet even so, no grief for Penelope touched her mind, but she slept with Eurymachus, and loved him. She now jeered at Odysseus with words of abuse. You sorry stranger, you must be some kind of half-wit. You will not go and sleep at the smithy's house, or some public shed. No, you stand here running your mouth, bold as brass among all these men, and your heart feels no fear. Either the wine has hold of your wits, or your mind is always of this sort. That is why you babble so idly. Or are you giddy because you beat that vagrant Iris? Watch out that no better man than Iris stands up soon, who will box both sides of your skull with his heavy hands, and send you out of the house all fouled with blood. Then, glaring from under his brows, Odysseus of the many designs replied, One word to Telemachus, you bitch, and I go straight to him now, for what you are saying. And he will cut you limb from limb on the spot. So speaking, he set the women scattering in terror. Off they went through the house, and the knees of every one went slack with fear. They thought he spoke the truth. But he took his stand by the burning braziers, tending the light, and watched them all, and other things his heart was pondering deep within, things not destined to fall short. And Athena would not let the lordly suitors hold back from heart-stinging outrage, so that pain might sink still deeper into Laertes' son Odysseus. So Eurymachus, Polybus' son, began to speak among them, baiting Odysseus, and he raised a laugh among his companions. Hear me, you suitors of the far-famed queen, while I say what the heart in my breast commands. Not without God's guidance has this man come to Odysseus' house. At any rate, the blaze of the torches seems to me to come straight off his head, for there is not one hair on it, not a wisp. He spoke, and turned to Odysseus, sacker of cities. Stranger, would you take a hire, if I took you on out at the end of my lands? Your pay will not fail you, picking stones for walls and planting tall trees. There I would furnish you bread the year round, and put clothes on your body, and give you sandals for your feet. But no, you have learned bad ways, and you will not set yourself to work. You would rather cringe through the town begging, to feed that bottomless belly of yours. Then Odysseus of the many designs answered him, Eurymachus, if only the two of us could have a match at work, in the spring season when the days grow long. At mowing I with a well-curved scythe in hand, and you with one like it. A trial of work, fasting right up to dark, and the grass still standing thick. Or oxen to drive, the very best oxen, tawny and big, both of them fat with grass, matched in age and pull, their strength no trifle, and a 4-acre field, the soil giving under the plow. Then you would see whether I could cut a furrow straight and long. Or, if the son of Cronos stirred up war, from anywhere, this very day, and I had a shield and 2 spears and a helmet all of bronze, fitted to my temples. Then you would see me mixed into the front fighters, and you would not talk and talk, jeering at this belly of mine. But no, you are full of insolence, and your mind is hard, and no doubt you fancy yourself a big man and a mighty, because you keep company with few, and none of them good. But if Odysseus came, if he reached his own country, those doors, wide as they are, would all at once be too narrow for you, flying through the porch for the street. So he spoke, and Eurymachus grew the angrier at heart, and glaring from under his brows he spoke winged words. Wretch, I will finish you off for good, for the way you talk, bold as brass among all these men, and your heart feels no fear. Either the wine has hold of your wits, or your mind is always of this sort. That is why you babble so idly. Or are you giddy because you beat that vagrant Iris? With that he seized a footstool, but Odysseus sank down at the knees of Amphinomus of Dulichium, in fear of Eurymachus. And the stool struck the cupbearer on the right hand, his wine jug rang on the floor where it fell, and the man groaned and went over backward in the dust. And the suitors raised a din through the shadowy halls, and a man would say, with a glance at his neighbor, if only the stranger had died on his wanderings somewhere else, before he ever came, he would not have brought all this uproar. Now here we are, brawling over beggars. There will be no joy, even in the good feast. Now the worse is winning out. And the sacred strength of Telemachus spoke among them. You are possessed. You have gone mad. You can no longer hide what you have eaten and drunk. Some god is goading you on. No, you have feasted well. Now go home and lie down, whenever the spirit moves you. Not that I am driving anyone out. So he spoke, and they all bit their lips and stared in wonder at Telemachus, that he spoke so boldly. Then Amphinomus rose and spoke among them, the shining son of Nisus, of the lord Aretius's line. Friends, no man should take offense at a just word spoken, and answer it with wrangling and hard speech. Do not knock the stranger about, nor any other of the slaves in the house of godlike Odysseus. Come, let the cupbearer pour first drops in the cups, so we can make libation and go home to bed. And the stranger, let us leave him in the halls of Odysseus, for Telemachus to see to. It is his dear house the man has come to. So he spoke, and the word he spoke pleased all of them. And the hero Mulius mixed the bowl for them. The herald from Dulichium, Amphinomus's henchman, he served it round to all in turn, and they poured to the blessed gods, and drank the honey-sweet wine. And when they had poured, and drunk as much as their hearts would have, they went their ways to bed, each man to his own house.